Bam. We're live. Yo, y'all. Welcome to Awakening Warriors podcast, where we talk about life, love, lessons in love.
Learning.
So, what do we do this week? Just worked. For the most part. Nothing eventful. Except, we got accepted to the 50 miler. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you hear from us next time, we'll have ran 50 miles.
Yeah. Again.
Which I say is going to be super easy because I did 100 last time. So, it's like just doing half. And it's always harder the second half because, like everything is so worn down. So, it's just like, 50 miles ain't shit. Anyways, cool. What are we talking about today?
So I want to strangle you already. Well, you're the one that chose.
Look, I'm an unmarried man.
You're the one that chose the topic.
Yeah, but I don't even know what I chose.
I don't know. We were just having a conversation last night about just some decisions that we need to make and like a direction that we need to choose to go. And then you were like, "Let's talk about this tomorrow."
Yeah, but it was a lot better in the moment. Well, I guess I can't say it's a lot better because I don't even know because we're not even doing it yet. So, but it was just a really good, genuine conversation that we had last night about life and the direction that we're going.
Yeah, and I think like a good way to start this out kind of is just like, so we've talked in other episodes about just like where we are financially and like things in our life are just changing a little bit, so we need to like figure out what's next. And so last night that conversation was still that, more so like you had mentioned you talked to David and had said like we just need to pick a direction and go.
Yeah.
Because we've kind of been in this like limbo space for a little bit, and
yeah,
not that there's anything wrong with that necessarily. I don't know. I guess we come at it from different like perspectives too, because for me, I'm like, if this is where we just need to be right now, of like you doing your remodeling stuff and me doing what I'm doing, but I think that's like a harder thing for you to sit in.
There's also a fine line, right? Because you can't just be like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing now. And there's some respect to that, but also you can't just be
You don't want us to be like people who just sit in where we're at.
Yeah, that's true, but there's also a lot of respect to that. There's like necessity to not like being like there's a necessity for picking a direction and starting to move in general for everybody's lives.
Yeah, and I think like having this placeholder of like you doing your stuff, that's what it is for you. Like you know that's not gonna, you don't necessarily, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a placeholder for the time being for however long to till we figure out what we're doing. So I'll tell you a little backstory. David is a mentor coach of ours, and so I kind of filled him in regards to what's going on in life and stuff for a brief minute, and he like in the past encouraged us to go to consider chiropractic school. For me, it would be a very long journey. And I just at this point in my life, so essentially, like he's like, I can hook you up down in Atlanta and all this jazz. Well, there's no reason for me to move down to Atlanta at this point in my life because I might as well get the credentials or prerequisites to get even accepted to a chiropractic college. So there's no reason for me to specifically do it. If you wanted to do it, you could just go down there tomorrow. Well, whenever it starts, right?
Start chiropractic.
Yeah, start chiropractic school.
I have my needed credits of undergrad.
You have
already.
your prerequisites. So then we just essentially had a conversation because I was like, okay, I'll consider this because he's been pushing us to do this for a while, and honestly, I don't mind the idea of being a chiropractor. I think I would really enjoy it. It's the problem of going through the misery and the debt and the bullshit in order to get to that point. Now, if it was like go straight to chiropractor school, cool, I'm all about it. Or if it was, like an apprenticeship, cool, I'm all about it. But the fact that I've got to piss away 3 to 4 years, literally full time, in all the money just to get to that point, that's a big thing for me. So
then last night the conversation kind of started around like you were like basically deciding like I'm not gonna do that. Like you're choosing not to do that at this point because it would just take.
The way we left off was I was going to consider
Oh yeah,
taking
looking into online.
taking online courses or maybe some bullshit GRCC classes, which just makes me want to puke saying, honestly. It's like, ugh.
And then for me, I also, like, in theory, wouldn't mind being a chiropractor, but then when I look at, like, what I did go to school for, and I've only technically been in, like, my field and my job for, like, a few years, and I've only been at one agency. So I internshiped there my last year of grad school and then got hired on. So I've been at that one agency this whole time that I've, like, done my job. And so, and not that I could definitely feel like I could get passionate, like, super passionate about chiropractic. Like, obviously, we go to chiropractor, so we, like,
Oh, yeah, 100%. I believe
stand by it, all of that stuff. But I'm also like, I don't know, to go through all of that for that, which I'm not at this point super passionate about, when I already have this degree and like I don't even necessarily like dipped my toe in the field of like social services and social work, and so you were kind of bringing that to me of like what sounds more appealing, like what, and so we kind of just narrowed it down from that point because realistically I would like, because there are things that we can do that I can do here with what I already have and the work that I've done and the time that I put in that would like still be like an advancement or a next step or like getting us to like something else instead of this just like point where we're at right now. So, which was a good conversation because I think, I don't know, sometimes those conversations, and I think we'll get into this a little bit because I think it's important, but can get like not heated but just ego filled, I think, on both sides. But for me specifically, when it comes down to like what I need to do and what decisions I need to make and what moves I need to make, like the ego in me gets very scared. Even now it's making me like want to tear up. It's not funny. It's actually really annoying. And
depends on your perspective.
Anyway, so that's where our conversation led last night. It was like me decide, like saying like I would actually rather just choose looking into what I can do with what I have now.
And for my side of things, it kind of I'm down to try whatever. Like I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm willing to try pretty much anything as far as, career path goes, right? Cuz I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to work for somebody. I just want to do my own thing. But what does that look like, for me? So, but before I pick something, like I didn't know whether you were down to go to Atlanta or whether, you wanted to stay here, because that obviously affects like what I do. So like the primary, I don't know, primary, I don't even know what I'm thinking about. Decision maker, kind of, right now. Like, everything relies on your decisions first, first and foremost. Because you have, essentially, the more opportunity. You know what I mean? So, like, you could go to Atlanta or stay here. Well, if you go to Atlanta, obviously I'm going to Atlanta. So then that's going to affect what I do, whether I'm doing it here or there. So,
I can still do what I do in Atlanta, so if that's like what you're all gung ho about, like.
No, it wasn't necessary to move to Atlanta.
Gotcha.
It was to go down there to be a chiropractor. If that's what you were, the decision that if you were interested in doing that, then we'd go do that. But basically, I'm secondary and you're primary at this particular moment. Where in the past it's always been like I've been primary and then you've been secondary, because I would always hold the cards or whatever, and now it's kind of like you hold the cards and then I just follow along, essentially. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say when you said like with me being primary, like I was gonna say that's new, like, and that, and even like decision making and all those things like are not super easy for me in general. So now when there's like not pressure, but it just matters more. Like I actually need to like that conversation last night. I actually needed to think like what is it that I would rather do? What is it that I'd rather prefer? Like, and I'm used to you being the one making those decisions of like with our financial future in mind kind of situation.
Yeah, and it's obviously bigger than financial. You know, like obviously it has to do with financial, but it also has to do with just life in general, because this will change the trajectory of our just almost our purpose. So it's even bigger than finances if you really think about it. But
yeah, and then knowing my purpose is a whole nother thing. So
yeah,
this is just good for me. It's like growth. It's uncomfortable, and I know it's gonna be good. And I've also come to like accept. I don't know, because even like thinking a week ago, which is what I said, like I'm much more open to making moves and changing things for my own like career than I was even a week ago. And that doesn't necessarily mean like, because I had said I don't want it to come across as like, oh, I'm leaving my job and I'm doing all these things, because that doesn't necessarily mean that. But like, what can I add on to that, or like what can I look at and start doing to like, because in my mind I've had these questions before, like, am I gonna do this forever? Am I gonna be here forever? Like theoretically not. And when I first went to school and graduated, that was my goal, was to own my own private practice. And then as I got like comfortable in what I'm doing now, that just kind of like faded away, because well, that's work, that's hard, that blah blah blah. So like I'd rather just be in this like agency work where it's easy and a lot of things are taken care of for me, and I don't necessarily have to make a lot of decisions. But
yeah, you just show up and punch a clock and leave.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's pros to that, sure, but there's a ton of pros to like looking at things like private practice or my own private practice even. And not that that's happening like tomorrow, but
yeah,
just, I don't know, I'm more open to it now. I think it takes me a little bit because like, again, ego like comes up, and so whenever you mention those things like you mentioned in the past, like, oh well, you can make us lots of money when you own your private practice. No, and it's like not like an actual conversation. It's just like these things said at me. Then my like walls come up, and it's like I shut it down right then and there. Like I tell you no, I tell myself no, and there's not like a carrying on of conversation. So then it's just like done until the next time you like say something. Where like recently it's been more like actual conversation, so
yeah.
I'm like warming up to it.
Yeah, there's obviously a difference between like having the conversation and like legitimately like having truth, like actually having the conversation, you know. So,
Yeah.
um, I feel like we do a pretty decent job at taking those times seriously. I think, like, because I was like, all right, we need to have a legitimate conversation and not just like, you know, some bullshit deal. Like, if that's not what you want to do and that's what you want to do, and you're like 100% against it and whatever else, okay, then it's fine. We need to figure out something else. But we need to evaluate the options that we currently have right now in order to see the trajectory of our lives. So, you know, like a genuine evaluation of the situation and the opportunities.
Yeah, and I think like you mentioned, obviously with like me being where I'm at, and like just there's gonna be more weight to like what I decide to do and what moves I make, which hasn't always been the case in our relationship. So
yeah, essentially, you know, depending on what you do, I could assist in building your business, or I can go out and find something else to do. I mean, a lot of like what I do depends on your decision, and that's why I say you're primary and I'm kind of the secondary. Like I'm kind of the, you know, it's kind of like, again, I gave this example last night. It's kind of like SheFit. Um, what's his name? Doug.
Bob.
Bob. Um, so you know, Bob's kind of like the background guy, you know, and then
Right.
she's the.
So Sarah was the one that like.
Yeah, came up with the idea, developed it, you know, did
it's
everything.
Like athletic wear.
Yeah, and
then her husband.
Yeah,
was, like,
her husband.
The back end of things, and like,
yeah, yep. So.
Like, she's definitely the face of it, but he's still like running the business too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, you know, depending on what you decide, then I would need to, you know, if you wanted me involved, or whatever you decided in general, whether you went that route or didn't go that route, kind of affects what I would be doing in general in life. So,
it's not interesting, but if I like go back and like look at the pieces, because since like David and I have like actually been working together, he's been saying stuff to me about like owning my own business, owning your own counseling business, and you can call it this and blah blah blah, and then we've had conversations too where like you are the one with the goals and you are the one with like, and I with like the drive and you knew what you wanted and what you were doing, and then I would just come along and like help those things. And that's like very much how our relationship has been. Like you've got the idea, the thing, the whatever, and then like I just come along and like help with those. And so we talked about that, and I think like as far as like my purpose and stuff, that's why it's been kind of tricky for me, because it's been just easier for me to like tag along your goals. Like you know what you want, so I'll just help you get that, and then that like indirectly is helping me too. But like what's my like own stuff? And when I had talked to David the most recent time that we talked, he had said that like I think it's now time for you to like be the one to go do the things and like have Montana come and help you. Like it's been years and years and years of like him being the one, the forefront, and like you coming alongside. But yeah, that's scary for me.
I thought stepping into, granted, I'm not even necessarily in the role, right? But I thought like being in this role would be more challenging for me. Like the acceptance, I suppose, because I'm usually like, oh, I've got the ideas, let's do this, you know. So I'm surprised with how much like, because I'm the one that actually, granted, I'm still, that's kind of a role deal, right? I'm still coming to you saying, hey,
Yeah.
we need to fucking do
I was just
something.
thinking that. That's still you kind of like heading it.
Yeah, yep. And maybe I, you know, and in a lot of ways I'm sure I will be heading certain things just in general, just because that's, you know, I'll deal with the brunt of the stuff and, you know, and like guiding the trajectory of our lives. Um but like just sitting here thinking about, you know, assisting, like I got no fucking problem with that. I don't really care because we're like, you're on my team, so I don't
We are on each
I don't
other's
mind.
team.
I don't mind helping you.
But this what's interesting because I think we'll just have to see as you like actually literally like you said, you're not in that role quite yet. So once you like actually more so are, we'll have to see how it goes. Because you even brought up like kind of, I don't know if it was annoying or you can just tell me how you felt about it, but you brought up the fact that like I was making more money than you,
Yeah.
and you're like, like.
I mean, like, it's not that big of a deal, to be honest.
It's something. See, that's like an ego thing, though, right? Like ego's like.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that whatever. Like a part of me says you should be fucking making more money. You went to school for fucking how many fucking years and paid how much for your fucking degree? You should be making way more than me by a fucking long shot. I'm just a fucking kid that like barely graduated high school. I'd hope you fucking make more money than me.
But so, what's the other part of you saying?
The other part of me saying like I'm fucking smarter than you and everything else. So, you know, but like at the end of the day, like you, to a degree, right? You earned to be where you're at. So I don't like. It's not like it's more of a thing for me than you. You know what I mean? As far as my ego, it's not. My ego is not about you. It's about me. It's not like, oh, she's making more money than me. Blah 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 blah. You know. Like, honestly, I could turn around and, you know, start pushing the remodeling thing a lot harder, right? And I could probably start making more money tomorrow. Or, you know, within the next couple months or so. You know, realistically. But it's not necessarily what I want to do. I don't want to tie myself down and fucking get all this work planned out and then just be fucked because, you know, and cancel all these jobs or, you know, like not be able to provide this opportunity or help you or take this other opportunity. It's kind of just like a, okay, let's just keep our fucking heads above water type of thing and, you know, like see where this see what presents itself and what we can find, you know. So, I mean, going down to fucking Ohio, like that was an interesting opportunity that like just popped up. It presented itself really quick. Like I didn't know he did that. I think this is the first, I'm assuming, so on and so forth. We got a massive discount. I was like, okay, this is all lining up. Let's fucking start, you know, we're going, you know, type of thing.
That's for like a business conference, FYI.
Yeah, so we're going to Cleveland in the end of June for a business conference, and things just lined up really well for us in order for us to do this. So you know, and because there's like God, the universe, whatever, and then there's you, and you have to be willing to work with God in order for these things to come to fruition. If I would have said no, fuck that, like, and shelled up, we don't have the money, and whatever else, then we wouldn't go down there and have that opportunity, and I could be missing an opportunity that could project us a lot further in life.
Yeah, there's even there's other synchronicities that I thought about that with, because we were looking for a hotel room too, and I found a few, looked at prices, whatever, and then right before I decided, because I was like, oh wait, let me double check, because I don't know if there's a cancellation fee on this one, and then I was like, hey, actually, did they send you an email? And so we found out that there's a block of rooms where the actual thing's being held, and it was a little bit more pricier than the other ones, but all of that worked out perfectly too, because had we just hurried up and grabbed a room somewhere, then we would have missed out on that, and who knows what those connections are going to be made, because we're in that block of room with those people, and the total was 444. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, all of these things, there's a lot of other lining ups between, David's conversation, and it doesn't sound like we're going the chiropractic route, which is fine. At this point in our lives, we're not going. Whether that happens down the road or not, sure, because there's a chance that I will be taking classes just to just slowly knock them out, just because, and then, if I do decide that I want to take those, go to Atlanta, then I can. What?
I'm just thinking about if you're a chiropractor, we could have double whammy and have chiropractor and counseling, but we could also do really cool groups.
When you fix your body and your head.
And your mind.
Your mind's fucked up, your back's fucked up, we got you.
Your spine and your mind. Anyway. Well, shoot. Now I'm go chiropractor Montana.
Maybe by then they'll have one. I think part of me is a little bit afraid to move out of state, because I'm maybe they'll just open one in
Michigan by then.
Yeah. A couple things. There's been a lot of signs, I guess, or events that has pointed towards obviously us switching industries and starting something new, and also just as a team, because Dave is well, you're gonna stay with her together or forever, right? And I was yeah. And then she's okay, so he's you guys need to figure out what you're doing together, and so on and so forth. And I'm yeah, I'm down for that. I've been saying that for however long. I mean, even when there was Bob and She Fit, and I thought that was an interesting sign. Remember when we were at Mike's, and then I think the next day I mentioned something, and then there's been multiple other things that have kind of tipped me off. So yeah. And then also on the other side of things, I know you mentioned you were afraid of, and this could be a totally different conversation, limiting beliefs and so on and so forth, but owning your own business, and you started the Christoph thing, right? You started the video. But he talks about those things being programmed and stuff. We're being programmed to, be afraid to take risks. And I've never had a problem taking risks. I've lost fucking tens of thousands of dollars fucking taking risks. I've lost a lot of fucking money. So, I've got no fucking problem taking risks. It's the aftermath that sucks. Right? Coming to terms with fucking betting big and losing, so our minds are a lot different. We're complementing to a degree, because Christoph was talking about how we were programmed and stuff, and I wasn't necessarily, I have a lot of bad programming, but that wasn't part of it, but I think you were probably programmed into that, that whole doing the business thing, blah 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 blah, and going through life, and that's David was trying to break that programming, and that what I mean with encouraging you to do that, because once you hear that over and over and over and over again. I was listening to Ed Milet's interview with London Real last week, and he was talking about how he talks about tells his kid that he loves him, or that he's make great choices today, or whatever else. And he's he heard that fucking 100,000 times before the time he turned 18. What do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna make good choices. He's gonna feel like he's loved. He's gonna feel all these things. because literally he's hearing it all the fucking time. And even though, like, you know, your conscious mind might blow it off, your subconscious mind is still intaking it. And, you know, that's what really fucking matters. We ought to do one based off your conscious versus subconscious mind. Dude.
Yeah, because even just as you're talking, I have, like, so many, like, things in my mind. Because, yeah, like, that one specifically, like, I know a lot of business owners. Like, a lot. But for me to, like, look at those people, it's easy for me to be like, well, yeah, for them. But,
Yeah.
like, why not for me if for them? But, anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm more open to it. That belief might be, like, slowly changing. And maybe now, too, because we finally just had a conversation, like, where you, I don't know, maybe I feel like, anyway, this is the first time you've said, like...
I was like, we're sitting the fuck down and we're having a conversation, woman.
No, the first time where you were, like, full on, like, I am totally willing to help you do this, too. But again, that's, like, almost that fallback piece for me. Like, it's not just on me. There's somebody else to, like... But at the same time, like, we are going to do stuff together. We've worked together forever. Long time. Why not build something together? But, yeah. I just have, like, lots of things in my head that are probably rabbit traily, so.
Don't we all? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. And I don't know, I just felt like we should share that. I don't even know what the fuck we're going to call the podcast or like what exactly the podcast is about.
The title.
We're just sharing like real life shit that we're currently fucking doing. Like this is shit that people go through, but people aren't always willing to share, like legitimately.
Or go
because
through.
It's big shit. This is big fucking shit.
Or go through like on their own because they're not in like a true partnership with their significant other, so then they're just like struggling through.
Yeah, dude, that one dude at the fucking... I told you, one dude yesterday at the party, I was like, damn, his energy seems low.
Compared to like, yeah, last time
yeah,
we saw him.
Yeah, years ago, you know? So, like, are you changing for the good or the better? And it just doesn't seem, you know, like... A lot of people are changing for the better, you know? Like, this is... Doing this shit... I don't know, it's just, it's out of the norm. Like, we're fucking taking a risk and we're, you know, like, we're either gonna get punched in the fucking mouth or we're gonna win big. But, either way,
yeah.
You know, and I haven't been punched in the mouth in a long time. Like, a very long time. It's been fucking years since I've been punched in the mouth. And now I'm really getting, like, legitimately. Like, this big, you know? So...
Oh, I gotcha, okay. Like,
yeah.
The whole overarching, like, time period you're saying?
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, because normally I'm just like, woo, everything works out, yeah, no big deal, fuck this, you know, we'll do that, and, you know, it all just fucking works out for us. But now I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, you know, I always got, like, an idea or whatever else, and I've got ideas, but they're just not, you know, they're just not, they're long, they'd be long term, there'd be long... goal ideas, you know, like an apparel company and shit like that. Yep. I need money today, not fucking, well, I do need money later, you know, but you know what I'm saying. So, yeah. It's just, this is life. This is fucking life, and
it really is exciting. Like, I'm like, even now, I'm like, I can feel like kind of anxious in my like chest, and but like you said, I think was it just last night? Like, you're excited. Because excitement and nervousness feel the same.
Was that when you were having a pity party and you were like, don't talk to me?
Probably, because I was still just kind of pissy.
Yeah,
but I know, like, my conscious mind, or, like, yeah, like, my logical mind knows, like, in theory, like, 1, this is just going to be good. 2, I'm going to grow a lot. 3, it will be exciting. 4, like, even if it, like, doesn't, like, you win or you learn. Like, so...
That's what a lot of people with jobs miss out on, the growth. Because they, you know... They grew to that job, and then that's it. Like, they fucking, you know, it's like their growth kind of peaked, or, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have to grow. They're not being forced to grow anymore because they're already good enough for that particular job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, well, like, there's promotions and stuff, too, but it's different if you're...
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that because there's people that go after those promotions, right. But that's not necessarily, you know, like, people... From my experience, just are not actively pushing. You know, when a promotion comes up, then they'll try to peak up a little bit. But that whole time before a promotion gets there, like they're just like, I'm just fucking doing my job. I'm here. I'm a placeholder, and then like a fucking job. A promotion is available, and they're like, okay, and then they'll fucking, the whole time again until a promotion comes. Like they're not actively trying to grow and to get better the whole time. Let's discuss on like even like how the conversation itself went. I know like you I don't think we really touched base as much as we could, but essentially I was just like, all right, we need to have a conversation about the direction that we're going, and then um, when I was pushy or whatever you called it.
I think it was pushy.
You're
just pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got pissy and defensive.
And I got pissy and defensive, or I don't think I got defensive because I had nothing to get defensive about. But I just got irritated with your fucking resistance, because I'm like, dude, like this is fucking annoying. So me being,
I just said it was annoying earlier, and you're like, depends on who you are, depends on your perspective.
Me being who I am, I'm always trying to push the limits and fucking, get to the next level, and I don't like to be where I'm at. So,
although that's a whole other podcast for being content where you're at, but.
Yeah, yep. Well, again, there's a fine line and there's a necessity for both sides at different times. And I feel like I've done really well with being, like, relatively content.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah, to a degree. To a degree is always going to be my thing after every comment. So, yeah, basically, I sat down and said, started having a legitimate conversation, and then doing my thing, I was like pushing you and whatever to ask the hard question, or I was asking the hard questions and pushing you to think about the actual answers of the questions and stuff like that, and you just didn't enjoy it, and then,
I cried.
You cried. You're all pissy the rest of the night. I said you had to stick up your butt.
Which I hate when he says when I'm already mad. Super annoying. Yeah, well.
And this could go for any conversation, because there's always going to be, necessity to difficult conversations.
Yeah, and this, like we've already kind of hit on, this came wrapped in a very large gift of uncomfortable for me. So it wasn't just like the conversation, because we have conversations all the time about your businesses and what needs to happen and what doesn't need to happen and where we need to be and blah blah blah. But like this was again on me, and like I really needed to think about like what I wanted and what my like decisions were, which decision making in general is tricky for me. But I think I just want to come at that of like the whole conversation last night. There's a lot of pieces that were like pushing me outside of my comfort zone. There we go. Yeah. And so, like my walls came up a little bit. I got defensive. Tears came, like, one, just because I was, like I said, I already said this. Like, it was kind of scary to, like, have to think about that. I also just cry, like, a lot. I cry when I'm mad. I cry when I'm sad. I cry sometimes when I'm happy. But it was good. I still get this, like, which we're talking about it now. It's kind of been constant since we started, but the, like, pang in my chest. Because you were like, you don't need to make the decision, like, today, but, like, clearly that's still there of, like, I need to do some stuff to, like, get moving and whatever. Because we've decided that we're staying here, that we're going to look at, like, my degree and what I can do with it. So, like, now that means I actually have to do stuff. And so, like, just, like, even this morning, I'd think about it kind of randomly and get that, like, pang in my chest of, like, ugh. But.
Did you get it down here or up there? I always get my fucking anxiety here.
It depends. Sometimes it's in my sternum, which right now it is. It's like sitting right here.
So usually I think why dudes have like heart problems is because of their fucking anxiety. It's like a heart chakra thing.
Yeah, it depends. Right now it's right here. And that could also be because like I keep randomly like getting teary too, and I'm like holding that back. So I don't know if that has anything to do with that area.
Just let it out. It's not healthy. Just let it out. It's to our viewers. Let them experience full Andrea. Like the full Monty. And then my side was, I was just, legitimately having a conversation that we needed to have. And I was pushing to a degree. Not too, I was just nudging.
To a degree.
Yeah, I was just nudging. I was just giving a little push that you needed. And then I was
repeatedly.
Yeah. No, as well, yes.
Okay, I guess it probably was a little slower than mine, but still.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, being in my side of things, like, I gotta evaluate, like, how much can I push, because, like, regardless, you had to be pushed into thinking about these things because, like, it has to be done, because we need to know what we're doing, like, so, what?
Your ego needs to know what we're doing.
No, shit. I'm open to the possibility of that being on or true. But again, there's always there's two sides to everything. Like, yes, you can be content. It's kind of like the Ed Milet thing. You're taking a bite of the steak and you're blissfully happy, but you want more. Like, you're very content eating that piece of steak at that moment, but yet you're ready for the next bite.
Yeah, I'm aware.
So,
I don't need to just be coasting my whole life. I get that. But there's also your ego in play, so.
Well, yeah, but I'm like, like, we've been in this situation for a while, right? Oh, for a good hot minute, I feel like.
I don't know. What are we in? June? I'm trying to think of, like, well, okay, this exact moment, it hasn't been that long, but, like, again, with, like, the signs and the whatever, probably back to, like, because we were looking to get rent for our house in April, so probably there-ish.
It's really even before that. I just didn't start pushing real hard in order to figure out stuff. So, I mean, it was probably even before April. Like, what we've been doing is kind of wishy-washy for a while now. But where we're at. So then I finally decided to, okay, we need to fucking do something about it. And then, we tried and blah, 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 blah. Shit didn't work out. And then, here we are. So,
So you're still explaining where you were in the conversation?
Yeah. So,
your side of it.
So, like, obviously, me being the more decisive and,
leadery one.
I was like, all right, we need to fucking pick a direction, because I told David before he even said anything, I was like, we just need to pick a fucking direction and run. And if we run the wrong way, then we can fucking turn back around and go another way. Because right now we're just standing still and we're just fucking treading water right now. And so we need to start fucking swimming in a direction, whether it's left or right or whatever. We need to fucking go and start doing something. Because this is how people get stuck and fucking, like, live shit lives. And he said, yes, I agree. So I was like, yeah, I know, I'm right. And, yeah, so it's just like, okay, cool. And then literally, it was, we went out fishing with Justin, and then the next day we had a fucking discussion. I was originally planning on doing it today, but then I was just like, fucking yesterday worked out good, so.
And then you got pissy at one point.
Yeah.
You started like, I'm like, why are you talking to me like that?
Because you were being resistant.
That's helpful. Let me get mad at you really quick. Now let's break down the resistance.
Yeah.
No!
I just want to smash
We
your
just
right
talked about
hand.
it last night. Like, kind and loving and supportive.
Which I was. For the most part. I feel like I handled...
Agree.
I felt like I handled that situation I feel like we both handled that situation relatively well. Because not every situation is going to be like, I think we need to make a decision. And you're like, okay!
Well, yeah.
Fucking...
And that's what I said, even though, like, I had, like, some emotions and anxiety and whatever, like, it was still a good conversation. It was productive. It didn't turn into, like, an argument.
Yeah. I think
It
a
was
lot of
just
people are afraid of
uncomfortable.
it. Kind of turned into like pissy pants.
Yeah, but pissy pants is not the same as like full on mad at each other.
I agree, but luckily I wasn't an ass and just didn't press it.
For real, because then it could have got. Because I was like pissy up until we went to bed.
I was
Like-
pissy when we went to bed because you were a fucking retard.
Hey! I wasn't even that bad. I just didn't really want to like converse with you and like be lighthearted and whatever. Like I was in one of those like serious moods. Like, okay.
I was just annoyed with you when I went to bed. I wasn't really mad. I was just like, what the fuck, dude? She'll wake up and she'll be better. Like, the stick will dissolve.
Yeah, and then there was like one point for 2 seconds earlier where I like again was kind of like irritated or something. You're like, oh, you still got that stick up your butt? God. If I could like remove any sentence from your vocabulary, it'd probably be that one.
That's duly noted.
It's so obnoxious.
I love it when you tell me your weaknesses.
That's disgusting. You're making me irritated again.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and then that's why it's said so often. It's just because you're like, I know this is going to make you more mad. You know like how I make you sound every time?
Oh, God, made you mad.
That's what I hear in my head, apparently.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, though. Fucking...
Yeah, just a life recap, in addition to, like...
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons that we can be
Yeah.
taken out of there, you know, like, we learn best by stories, obviously, as human beings, and,
Here's our story.
here's our story.
Today.
So, here's our today story. Because you guys are just on the journey with us, and we have no fucking clue what we're doing, or even where we're going right now, so...
So follow along.
Yeah, so follow along and find out. Yeah. So we just felt like it would probably be good to share because a lot of people go through the same shit, and you know, like
Yeah, just-
don't feel alone. Don't feel like you're the only ones, because
Yeah.
you know it's
And it's like the real stuff.
yeah. That's really what, dude. It's so hard, and that's why one of the reasons why we created this podcast is because I fucking hate bullshit conversations, dude. I just can't fucking stand them. You know, like the conversation that we were starting to have with Kevin about the other gentleman was like, oh, like, okay, you know, I'd like to see your insight on this, you know, and like that's a legit, not gossiping, right? Because I'm not really, you know, into the gossip, but I like to know like how people got to where they're at, why they're where they're at, you know, and so on and so forth, because it's interesting. You can learn from those things, and you can avoid those things, and you know you can do things differently, and live your life differently compared to you know where they are, or if they're where you want to be. You know, if you dissect them and you know get a perspective or an outside perspective, then you can fucking you know more so go to where they're going. I just, you know, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to start the podcast, because like legitimately having these interesting conversations versus like, how's the weather? What'd you do at work this week? You know, all this shit, like, you know, and obviously we recap our weeks to a degree.
Sorta.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're just like, we didn't do anything. Okay.
Yeah. It's not important. I'll let you know if something important happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're at, and just wanted to share that, and I hope you guys may have been able to learn something or take something from this podcast. I look at you more than I look at the fucking thing when I'm saying, I hope you can take something from the podcast. Whatever.
I look at you like all the time.
I know.
I don't look there often.
I'm not surprised.
Because I'm having a conversation with you.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of a recap.
Yep.
That's where we're at, and
Yep.
that's it. So if you want to go subscribe on YouTube, we have some episodes on Podcast Player.
We've been saying that for weeks, that like,
I know.
get back on there.
I know. I need to write it down in my schedule. That's the problem. If I don't write shit down in my schedule, then it usually does not get done. Cause like, dude, that thing saves my fucking life most of the time. Like, I have to have a schedule. And maybe I'll go write it down after we get done right now. Or I'll go do it now. Now we're wrapping up. So yeah, podcast player, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook is where we're at. And go like, subscribe, and share. If it helped you or, entertained you even. So we're just trying to help people with their journey because, we've struggled on our journey. We need to get to the point where we're talking, or not to the point. I want to eventually have the podcast where we talk about 6 weeks before the wedding. You're not ready for that one or what?
I don't know. Just the thought of it today sounds like a lot, but I think that's just because where I'm at today.
Yeah, I thought about doing that earlier in the week, and then we had that conversation last night, and I was like, dude, this is way better. So, because we can just whatever, our whole relationship and you know what I mean?
Kind of.
So, yeah. So cool. Ring the bell.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate you all. We hope we were helpful in some way, shape, or form.
For sure. That's what we're trying to do and what we want this to be all about. So, and wish us luck because we're doing the 50. So, next week when we
Saturday.
and after we do this, when we do this next podcast, we'll have ran the 50 miler.
It's probably going to be a Hot Mess Express one, but...
Yeah. Should be fun. I'm excited for it, kind of. Real quick, because I know we're wrapping up. Some of the things see, all these things now just pop into my head throughout the week that we could have discussed. We could have discussed the freezer and shit.
Mm.
But we'll do that next week. Literally, I just don't think about these things. We just got accepted a couple days ago.
I meant that the podcast is going to be Hot Mess Express. Not the race.
Oh, gotcha. I'm sure that'll be a hot mess for some people.
Anyway, though, hurry up. You were wrapping up 5 minutes ago.
Fuck.
You just don't think about those things.
Yeah, I just don't think about those things. We just got accepted 2 days ago. We have not trained one lick, and now we're about to run the 50-mile marathon, just because. So, I just won't think about it all the way throughout the week. When I do think about it now, I think about it, and it's it's going to be so much fun, and we can just have a blast on the jog, run, walk thing, and, But, for the most part, if it's not here, there's no reason, which I should start using that for all my other anxieties. It's not here, so don't fucking worry about it, So, but anyways, I just wanted to share that. We're out. See you guys later.
Bye.